All right guys, welcome back to the practice rounds. This week we are in Vermont and I'm going to be playing the Brewster course, one of the two courses used for the World Championships, the more wooded side. So let's get into it. All right, hole one, 320-foot par 3. They added OB long left of the pin, so you got to watch out for that. I'm going to be going with 2 sidearm felon shots. Oh, that'll work. A little higher would have been nice, but try to see if I can go this one in the hole. Nope, not quite.
You should just drive it first.
That is true. All right, guys, we'll see you soon. Yep. But yeah, I'm definitely excited to get my practice week started here in Vermont. I played one round earlier yesterday on the Fox Run course. This course is definitely the more wooded side. So you're going to be throwing a lot more controlled shots, a lot more controlled angles, a lot of backhands, I would say, more backhands off the tee than forehand. But it's good to have both shots and super important for sure. But yeah, they added this OB long, so it definitely makes it a speed control shot coming into this green. You can't just blast it down here and get a putt. You got to control your speed, control your angle. And I was able to do that in the first shot and hit the bucket. Start off with the 2 on the first hole. All right, hole 2, 550-foot par 4, pretty straight with a little bit of a tail to the right and then back left up once you get towards the green. But I think the uphill is the most challenging part about this hole. Your discs are going to want to be a little bit more overstable the entire first shot and second shot, so you got to be cautious of that. And I'm going to be throwing 2 mid-ranges off the tee. I'm going to go with an Albert Tam Trust. All right, the biggest variable on this hole is obviously the uphill, but the second thing is there's a lot of roots in the fairway, so it's hard to get a consistent skip up this hill. But I like to go mid-range just because the drivers seem to hyzer out and skip a little left, and then you have absolutely no angle. So I'd rather be a little bit shorter with the mid-range, but be in line with this gap. So I'm really just trying to throw out that camera guy and kind of slide a shot with this mid-range up there. Didn't quite turn it over. The uphill kind of got me, so I faded a little more left. So I'm gonna throw a little bit more turn on this. Just like that, that's way better. So this should skip a little bit straight and even to the right. Yeah, so just skip straight, it slid a little bit right at the end. It lined me up with the gap perfectly. So one thing I work with on my form is that when I'm reaching back, if I don't reach back a little bit further, I don't get that extra momentum coming forward. So that first one I kind of just got lazy with my reach back and didn't reach back all the way here. And the second one I reached back further and got that momentum, and that's why it was a better flight of the disc. All right, so this one's pretty much ideal landing zone. This tee pad and a little further is pretty much where I'm trying to land. And it sets you up kind of for like a forehand harp shot, which is what I'm gonna be doing here. So a nice standstill forehand harp shot inside the circle should be a high percentage circle hit and then have a putt. Just like that, that should be good. Yeah, I like that a lot. Try one more. Like as you guys know, I like going to spots where I feel like there's a high percentage chance to land in the tournament. So I'm gonna cut myself off with the angle, go a little bit further left, just in case my disc isn't in the actual perfect spot. Just so I have a feeling for what that shot feels like. So yeah, I was a little further left, a little bit more of an awkward angle, but still was able to get up there. So it all just depends on how this skip comes up this hill. If you get a nice filter to the right, you're gonna be open. If you just go straight and a little left, you're gonna be behind some trees. So that's the landing spot for hole 2 here. I also had a little pro tip for you guys. World Championships is coming up and I cycled in a couple new putters. I've really been liking my putters from this last couple weeks. They've been broken in pretty much perfect, so I put those away and I grabbed some new putters so that way when the world starts, I don't beat my putters up in practice. So got my perfect season putters waiting for me. And I'm just using some backups for now until I get to the worlds, ready to break out the game time putters. So yeah, these 2 harp shots were pretty much golden right here. Pretty much the same spot. Felon harp birdie, hole 2. That's how you do it. All right, hole 3, 320-foot par 3. We got a new gap, we got a new tee pad, and it's an uphill through the gap par 3. You're really just going to focus on hitting this initial gap and then fading back towards the basket. I'm going to go with the right side gap. There's a left side gap as well, but I'm going to go down the right side with a couple truss and just kind of rely on the uphill gravity kind of fading my disc back left. So I'm just really going to focus on throwing straight. Throw straight. That one's a little bit too straight, but it should still be down there a little bit. Yeah, and if obviously once you're going uphill, the nose of your disc is going to take it back left because it's going so far uphill. That one looks a little better than the first one, but they should both be inside the circle putting. They were both inside the circle like I thought. I think this first one ran into these trees here. Got a little bit of a straddle putt, but that's all right. Never a bad thing to practice your straddles. So we got the straddle putt dialed. But yeah, hit the gap with the mid-range, fade back inside the circle, make a straddle putt if you need to. Hole 4, 550-foot par 4, another uphill par 4 similar to hole 2, but this one doglegs a little bit right towards the end, but it's mostly straight. Just a lot, the trees make you kind of dogleg left and right. But I'm gonna go with a couple explorer shots down this left side gap. There's a forehand flex shot down the middle as well, but I'm gonna go take an explorer and kind of throw it on Annie up the hill. And once again, I'm gonna try to land where that camera guy is. He's always in a good spot, so I like it. He makes my landing zones easy to pick out. So yeah, I'm really just trying to hit this gap with a little bit of Annie with a explorer, like a straight explorer type disc, and just kind of really just focus on hitting that landing zone. Because if you don't hit that landing zone off the tee, you're not gonna get a chance for a birdie. So. Hit one of the Guardians. It's a pretty good shot, actually. I was happy with it. Just hit a little bit early, but the angle and everything was good. Too low again. So I'm gonna try one more. There we go, that's way better. That was better, but still a little bit right. So I'm gonna be out of position, probably with not much of a chance to get a 3. So as you can see, this tee shot's tough. One of the harder holes on the course, I would say. And definitely the type of hole to where if you're out of position, for me, it's basically just a scramble for a par and be happy with a par. All the pressure's on the tee shot on this hole. If you don't get off to a good tee shot, birdie's pretty much out of the question. I'll throw a shot from here just to try and see what I can make happen. But yeah, it's so far out of position. It's definitely not expecting to get a 3 from here. It's just a 3 is a bonus from here at this point. And then I'm really just trying to get a high percentage 4, maybe a long shot at a 3 from a spot like this on this hole. See, I hit something, but from there it's still just a par. I can get up and down pretty easily from there. Now we'll go to this other shot where I threw it pretty good, just a little bit right, and I'll kind of show you guys how tricky a spot like that can be on the hole like this. Yeah, so like right here, I'm like 5 feet off the fairway and got pretty much no shot. I mean, I can do some straddle out, but I'm not gonna throw it inside circle 2 but most of the time. So yeah, tricky hole. This is a little bit of an awkward shot as well. Get in. Ooh. So yeah, I saved a par from that spot. It's not the end of the world getting a par on one of the harder holes out here. But yeah, this course definitely has a lot of birdie opportunities. So if and when you have a bad shot, you definitely got to save that par, move on to the next hole, and know that there's a ton more birdie opportunities out here. So that's definitely important. Have a good mindset out here because you want to get a lot of birdies, but if you have to scramble and save par, sometimes that's what you got to do. All right, hole 5 is another par 3, 305 feet. It's a dog leg to the right. You pretty much want to throw straight. I'm throwing a putter. I feel like this hole was designed perfectly for a harp. So I'm gonna go with a couple harps, hopefully throw them down the gap with a little bit of flex, and then about 280 to 300 feet start fading back to the right towards the pin. But yeah, this is the kind of hole, if you throw it straight, you're gonna have about a 40 footer to the right, to the left of the basket. So you wanna throw it straight with a little bit of fade, and that's why the forehand is the recommended play. Or being a lefty, that always helps. But yeah, I'm just gonna go with a nice smooth harp shot, keep it on nice and flat down the gap, and then once I get down the gap, I wanna start fading. I don't wanna think about fading early, that's when you start hitting early trees. If I just throw it straight and focus on throwing straight, that's when I feel like I hit my gap shots the best. Fading a little early on this one, but it sounds like it got through for the most part. So this one I'm gonna try to throw it a little bit flatter. I wanna keep it on a little bit of hyzer, but I wanna keep it a little bit flatter than that last one. Yeah, that sounded pretty good. So I'm probably hitting that road. I'm gonna throw one more. There's a road down there that I'm probably hitting, and they're gonna kind of scoot up to the bucket. That one's a little early. Yeah, that one got super lucky. But that one is obviously, as you saw, that one's a little early. Those first two kind of hit the gap and then started fading. That one faded a little bit too early, which is what I'm looking to avoid. Yeah, this hole is just, suits my eye so well throwing a forehand. So yeah, a little slightly short. I am probably hitting this road and just kind of skittering out right here, which is fine. Gives me a putt, open putt. I'm not challenging any OB or anything. So I'm happy with that. Try a couple more putts from there. Yeah, this is a pretty common spot to land about 30 feet short where I was. And now we got it dialed. That's hole 5 with the harp and a dagger. All right, guys, I want to share with you something that I take into tournaments that you guys can also learn from. Is when I'm in a tournament, a big tournament like World Championships, I just take 1 or 2 small things into the tournament that I make sure I want to do in my form. Like you guys heard me talk earlier about extending your arm. That's something that when I get under pressure in high pressure situations, sometimes I get lazy and I don't extend my arm and get that nice swing through with my arm. I'll sometimes get lazy and come short, and that's when I saw my shots off. So that's one thing I'm thinking about during a tournament. I think that take 1 or 2 cues, whether it's your driving, putting that you're having trouble with, take 1 or 2 cues in the tournament and kind of think about that throughout the whole tournament. And I think that don't overwhelm yourself, and that should help increase your productivity in a tournament and under pressure. All right, hole 6, 345 foot par 3. It's downhill, so it's playing about, I would say 3 to 320 max. It's not playing 345, but it's a slight dogleg to the left. I'm gonna be throwing 2 daggers, my driving daggers, not my putting daggers obviously. And I'm just gonna be hitting them on a little bit of hyzer and just kind of following that nice hill and matching the slope of my disc with the hill. So that's pretty smooth. I like that a lot. That's gonna hit on the hill and kind of skitter down towards the basket, which I hope that's what happens, but I know I play this hole long enough to where I know what the ground play does. And I think that that's something that's super important when you play a hole a lot of times. Pay attention to how the disc's reacting off the ground, because that can mean the difference between getting inside the circle and not getting inside the circle. And as we all know, that's where the high percentage birdies are made, is inside the circle. Another solid shot. I'm really happy with that. Should be trickled down inside the circle for the high percentage birdie. All right, that takes us to our first drive. The second one skipped inside the circle. This one just circles edge. So still a great drive and still a great chance for birdie. So let's pick one up here. Two for two. And this one is, of course, this one's in. This one's inside the circle. So we'll make sure we got the inside the circle still, but I know we do. Here we go. But yeah, biggest variable on this hole is focusing on the ground play. When you're short of the basket, they a lot of times like to skip up and trickle up. If you hit pin high, a lot of times you're gonna skip 30, 40 feet long. But if you hit 30 or 40 feet short, they a lot of times like to slide and skip inside the circle. All right, hole 7, we got a 575 foot par 4. It's a straight landing zone to a dogleg left. And if you can cut off a little bit of that dogleg on the drive, it makes the second shot a lot easier. but I'm really just focused on throwing a disc straight and then finishing at about 400 feet or so to make that second shot a little bit easier. I'm gonna throw a couple fairway drivers, a couple explorers, and just try and focus on hitting this gap and going left a little bit at the end. Something like that. It's pretty much what I'm looking for. I'm gonna try one more. This shot is a little bit uphill, so your discs are gonna react a little bit more stable than you would think. That's something you gotta pay attention to when you're selecting a disc. Another good one, I like that a lot as well. Got a bad reaction off a tree, but I hit the gap, and that's gonna make for high percentage birdies most of the time. So we got this is our kind of landing zone. Pretty much straight with a little bit of fade, which is obviously a shot that I can repeat. I did it twice on this hole. So I'm gonna play a couple shots from here. We got about like a 250 foot uphill shot. I'm gonna go with just a mid-range so I can just play it nice and smooth. I don't have to crush it like I would a putter. I'm just gonna throw a nice smooth trust shot and a little bit of a flex. And I'm gonna wanna I wanna aim a little bit right side circle. I'm not really trying to park it. I'm just trying to hit the circle about 25 feet right because I got some trees in my way. If I would have to challenge those trees in order to park it. And I just wanna make sure I get a putt. So. So just like I said, my disc is about 25, 30 feet right of the basket, which is exactly what I'm going for. I'm not trying to park this hole because as you can see, there's trees right in front of the basket. If I hit those, I'm gonna be about 80, 60 feet away and have not a way less chance for a birdie. I'll take my 30 to 40 footer all day. That was just a bad release, but I'm gonna throw one more putter. There we go, that's better. A little bit short, but that should be about, like I said, a 30, 40 footer. So yeah, here are the trees that you would have to challenge in order to really park this hole, are these trees here. So if I hit these and I drop, I'm right here. Versus if I go to the right of them, yeah, I'm not gonna park it, but I'm still gonna have a high percentage birdie putt every time. And it's, I'm not risking hitting any trees. So that's why I like to play the circle's edge right of the basket play. So that way I can have this putt, something like this, a high percentage of the time and not risk not getting a birdie putt at it. So there we go. So that's why you play sometimes 30 feet right of baskets and just give yourself that birdie putt every time. Because I see a lot of players want to go pin hunting on every shot, and all that does sometimes is bring unnecessary trees into play when you could just get that high percentage birdie. Even if you don't make it, at least you're having a birdie putt at it every time, especially a 5-round tournament. You want to play the percentages. In the long run, we're gonna have a chance to win the Worlds, and that's what it's all about. All right, hole 8, we got an 850 foot par 5. This is a change from last year. It's new to the course, and it's uphill the entire way, so that 850 is gonna turn into and feel like over 1,000 feet with the gravity that's fighting you. It's a shot that you can definitely, looks like you can eagle potentially, but also a lot of risk off the tee if you're throwing a distance driver through these tight tunnels. If you hit something and bounce, you're looking at a par or bogey real quick. So I'm gonna try to hit the fairway and see where I can land on this new hole and see if I can't get an eagle look or maybe a high percentage birdie. So picking a disc on this shot, I'm definitely, because I've never played this hole, so I'll kind of walk you guys through it. I see obviously a nice tunnel. I see trees, but I see that I need an understable disc to hold the entire way. I don't want something to hyzer out because the right side, if I hyzer flip and keep turning, I'd rather err on the side of the right hand side of the fairway instead of left because it seems a little more open. So may pick a little bit flippier of a disc. I'm gonna go with the Raptor Eye Rive. This thing's pretty flippy on flat ground, so it's gonna be more straight to a little bit understable uphill. It's gonna turn into a click more overstable on shots like this. So I'm gonna try to land by the camera guy once again, and even if I land a little bit right, that's not the end of the world. I caught a last second tree, but it was a pretty good flight out of the hand. I'm gonna try one more here. I'm gonna try one of my patented teal Rives. This one might be a little bit too stable, but I'm gonna go ahead and see what we got here with it. Yeah, just like I thought, it's a little bit too stable for this shot. the uphill just kind of ate it up, as you saw. I threw it nice and turned, but then the uphill kind of just made it fade out. I'll try one more. I really want to try to throw a good one on this one, so that way I can at least see if the aggressive shot is worth it. If I don't know where the aggressive shot lands, I don't know if it's worth it or not. So I'm gonna throw until I throw one into the sweet spot. Try one more drive here. There we go, that's a good one. I like that a lot. So I feel like that is gonna be potentially eagleable 3, so we'll throw some shots from there. If I don't like the eagle play, I can always just change my play up, throw a mid-range, and then that doesn't bring as many kicks into play, because obviously if you hit a tree with a mid-range, it's not gonna bounce as far into the crap versus if you hit a tree with a driver. So something to think about when you're being aggressive on certain holes and picking your disc is realizing that, hey, if you hit a tree with a driver, you could get a horrible kick, way worse than you would a fairway or a mid-range. All right, here's my drive off the tee. I pretty much threw it perfect. I held the turn the entire way, landed right in the middle of the fairway, and it looks like I'm not gonna be attacking the pin for 3. So it almost feels like this hole plays so long uphill that you have to throw a crush off the tee, and then a nice controlled second shot, and then a nice putter or fairway into the green to get yourself a putt. So eagle opportunity probably isn't gonna be happening here for me. I just don't like the way the hole's playing. So I'm just gonna throw a nice smooth, another driver, but it's gonna be just hopefully a nice smooth driver down this gap so that way I can hit the fairway. Yeah, I like that a lot. Just right in the middle, no chance to really deviate from that line. I'm gonna try a little bit of hyzer here. Try to throw down this right gap, see if I like that as well. Try one more. There we go. All right, so I got the hyzer, I got the flat shot. As you can see, I'm throwing 2 drivers and still not coming anywhere close to this pin for an eagle shot. So yeah, it's just gonna be a play in for birdie type of par 5. Some of the par 5s on the Pro Tour are definitely reachable, and you definitely got to make a game plan before you throw it. And there's no reason to take unnecessary risk if you're not gonna be attacking the eagle anyway. So where the scoring separation is when you throw 2 good shots, can you get that birdie? And so that's what I'm gonna go ahead and see what it looks like. We got this shot, it looks like not super tough up and down from here. Looks like very high percentage. Let's see what we got. Throw a little sneaky backdoor shot. Yeah, cool. So that's where the straight shot up the middle. Now I'm gonna go to my hyzer. I think my hyzer's a little bit shorter into the crap, which is probably a good thing that it hyzered and did that, because I know that just tells me that the hyzer is gonna skip too far left going up this hill. So I wanna throw the flat to turn over shots when you're going uphill, probably the most controlled, especially on a hole like this where you're fighting gravity the entire way. All right, so here's where my harp shots landed. Got a little bit of a weird putt with these 2 trees here, but nothing I shouldn't practice. Little straddle putt action going on. But yeah, I got the 4, and I learned a lot about this hole. I learned that it's not eagleable. I learned how the gravity is affecting the disc coming all the way up this hill. So next round through, I'm gonna make those adjustments and formulate my final game plan for Worlds. All right, hole 9 is a par 3, 375 foot, downhill, sloping green. A lot of these holes, the distance doesn't actually dictate how far the hole plays. This hole plays about 340, I would say, maybe 350. I'd say subtract about 25 to 30 feet because of the downhill. So you really got to pay attention to gravity, how the disc's reacting on the greens. And this one, you want to land at about 300, 320 feet and get a skip. Because if you land basket high, you're going to be 50, 60 feet long in the bushes. So I'm going to throw in 2 trusts, trying to hit this upslope right in front of the basket, and controlling my speed and controlling my ground play to give myself an inside the circle look. All right, turn a little bit too much. Hit the right speed. I just turned it a little bit too much. Just when I'm gonna play with a little bit more hyzer. There we go, that's way better. Yeah, so that one should be a little short, probably about 40 feet short. I'm gonna try one more here. There we go, that's good. Yeah, that's really good. So that should be inside the circle. Hit short with a little bit of hyzer, a little bit of flat. That one, first one was a little bit short, and the second two are a lot better. Still a little bit short, but they're at least close enough to where I would go for the putt in the tournament. So like right here. If I'm inside circle one or close to circle one, I'm going for it. If I'm closer to the backside of circle two, I'm probably not going for it. But like if I'm right here, I probably would. As you can see, this green is super sloped as you see my putter rolling away. But yeah, that's why it's important to hit right in here somewhere with your drive and then skip. Because like I said, if you're airing to the basket, there's nothing stopping your disc and gravity's gonna take it way down the hill. So drive is super important on this hole. Get yourself somewhere near the circle so that way you can have the high percentage chance to go for the putt. All right, that wraps up the front nine. Thank you guys for watching. Now let's head over to the back nine.